Hello, everyone, and welcome into Inside the Smoky Mountain Conference presented by Team FYN Sports. Jake West joined by Brandon Stevens. Brandon, we are 8 weeks through the Smoky Mountain Conference football season. We're starting to see a little bit of clarity as to, the way this season is going to work out, the way the postseason is starting to take shape. We've got some postseason projections on our Facebook page if you want to go look there. But we've had some huge Smoky Mountain Conference games in the past couple weeks with Robbinsville knocking off Swain. Murphy knocking off Robbinsville sets up a good matchup in Swain County on Halloween night. As long as nothing goes awry between here and there for a Smoky Mountain Conference championship between Swain and Murphy. Could see a three-way tie if Swain knocks off Murphy between Robbinsville, Swain, and Murphy. But a lot of fun things playing out between all our teams. I mean, biggest headlines from last week, obviously, the 17-10 win Murphy had over Robbinsville. Robbinsville took it all the way to the buzzer, played a lot better than I think a lot of people were giving them credit for going into the game. They are a very good football team, and the 1A classification in North Carolina High School Athletic Association should be very afraid of what they are going to see when the playoffs roll around out of that Robbinsville team. But also, Coach Johnson in Andrews knocking off Rosman, getting his first win as the head coach of the Wildcats. Kelby Waldry played a great game. Brady McClellan played good. They defeat Rosman at home. Anything else I'm missing? Big storylines from the last few weeks?
No, you covered it like the leaves falling off the trees. You did well.
So let's get in and dissect some of these games. Let's talk about Robbinsville and Murphy, and then we'll talk about Andrews and Rosman. But Robbinsville and Murphy, like we said, it goes the distance, 17-10. Robbinsville came out first drive, ran the ball all the way straight down the field like it was nothing.
Yeah, that was an impressive drive because what you saw and what you were probably thinking is that, okay, Murphy has this really strong defense. And just up front, I don't know whether it was just the, getting the first game jitters out of your system, but Robbinsville came to play football. And you could tell right away that they were meaning business, and they were basically I think a couple of the comments we made in that live stream game, part of that game was Murphy was basically getting blown off the ball or getting pushed around. I won't say it that harsh, but didn't take very long to move the sticks. 1st and 10 Robbinsville, and had the 1st and 10 Robbinsville, and then all of a sudden you see Robbinsville, sliding into the end zone. And one of the biggest backbreakers that I think in that game, and of course going into it, we were saying, make no mistakes. Don't have a lot of serious penalties that are costing you. Have a big run and then have to come back because you've got a holding call or something like that. Well, that's exactly what happened in a high snap over Robbinsville's head, goes into the end zone, 2-point safety. And from there, the momentum seems to shift into the hands of the Murphy Bulldogs. After the game, you chit chat with some people like Cameron Clem, Brady Grant, and a couple of others. They'll tell you that that was not and Coach Watson even there wasn't the prettiest Murphy Bulldog football game. Coming up the winner 17-10. It's always a close ball game with these two teams, but the win is the win in their opinion, and some things did roll into the Murphy Bulldogs way of going through that game, and to come back and get Cameron Clem into the end zone. I believe also we saw Brody McFadden score there, and along the way, it's just the momentum seemed to shift into the Murphy Bulldogs' hands, and they were just right out of reach of Robbinsville, but Robbinsville never out of the game. A couple things I liked out of that football game. One, the running of Isaac Teesteski from Robbinsville. Big guy. He's like bull in the china shop. He'll tear the house down and get his yards. The other side of the football, I liked out of senior Kellen Inslee. A few times getting into the backfield, rushing Brady Grant, and I think even maybe had a sack on Brady. But from the other side of things, when finally things were floating Murphy's way, Janthony Gooden was the impressive marker. He and of course Brody Orton with some of their work that they were doing with defense. Those are a couple of just real things that just float to the top. And I'm sure that there's armchair quarterbacks that watch that game either on our streaming or were there in person and could tell you a few others. But always if you're just from a fan's perspective, that was, you got your money's worth. You got excitement. You bit your fingernails into the quick. But if you're bought in, coaching staff, players, not the prettiest game that you wanted to play.
Yeah, there was a lot of outside factors played a part in that game too. Some penalties and some calls, both ways that were some not knowing where to put the sticks, and it's just some crazy things that happened in that football game.
Great.
But yeah, you mentioned Kellen Inslee. I want to talk about him again just really quick. I think if the season ends today, he's probably your lineman of the year with the way that he has played. He's got a motor, goes after the football 90-0 every single play, every time he lines up. So he's a handful for offenses to scheme for, and he wreaks havoc. He plugs up holes. He's a really, really fun player to watch. But moving on to Andrews and Rosman. Murphy has Andrews this week. The Wildcats coming off of their first win of the season against Rosman. They put together a pretty complete game, Brandon, in that one.
Well, I was wondering about this one because looking at Andrews, of course, they was it 20-6 defeat of Rosman, and it's probably one of their better games. Looking at the carries, and of course, this is where Andrews' power lives within Ronaldo, and they did quite well. As again, I think McClellan, I haven't seen really that much passing, and this is a team that's relied on the rushing, and McClellan calling his own number a few times. Second leading rusher with the Andrews Wildcats. Kelby Waldrop, as you mentioned a few moments ago, yep. He's averaging around 6.5 yards per carry. And a few touchdowns to mention, and then of course Waldrop also is doing double duty from time to time. McClellan will drop him the ball, and he's got a touchdown from pass reception. But again, not going to go to the air with this one as much. This one's going to be the bread and butter has been on the ground with Waldrop. And looking to see how in this particular football game, with Andrews coming with their injuries that they sustained at the Swain game, trying to get the next man up. Not a lot of next men to call up from time to time, although Andrews has spread the love around. So anybody from senior O'Malley Salinas to Waldrop to other folks that they can pull out of the bag. They've worked to make their rushing game try to stand out, and it's been a little tough to get there. But across the way, you want to see more out of some of these a lot of these other folks. But there's no one with just big, impressive, gaudy numbers. Rattler, Phillips, Salinas, Schuler, Baxter, Garrett. the Andrews Wildcats have used all kinds of combinations of players and running backs, but McClellan and Waldrop are the ones scoring the touchdowns, and that also comes too with some receiving with Waldrop, Salinas with a pass, and Phillips and Schuler. So really, it's almost like just moving the mosaic tiles around to find the picture of good offense for Andrews. So with inside of that was not unexpected because even though Rosman coming into that game had had 2 wins under its belt, but has not been really playing the best football to match up with some of the work they probably should be doing. But again, Rosman with I think it's let me just checking the Brian Ronaldo and Hudson Reese. Those are the 2 leaders. Of course, Zeke Gainey not seeing that much passing, and the big key here was who can stop and prevent the rush in that game, and well, Andrews did the work.
Yeah, Andrews looked very good defensively, and like you said, they had a lot of guys involved offensively, leaning mainly on Kelby Waldrop on the ground, and Waldrop and McClellan. Those guys that's a good young core that Andrews has that they're going to be able to build on. But I mean, the first win means a lot for Coach Johnson and for this football team. It proves they've got something to work with, something to build on. Unfortunately, they do host Murphy this week, coming off of that win. The computers have that as a 42-6 football game, but it's unfortunate that after your first win, you play 2A perennial powerhouse that is Murphy, and a couple years ago, you were giving Murphy fits with Isaac Weaver and Austin Martin and those guys, and there's some guys on this team that were still on that team that remember that, and I think they're going to put those thoughts to good use on Friday night. I don't think it'll be relatively close in Valleytown Friday.
Well, looking if you're now turning it to a Murphy standpoint, the rest of the football games that they'll encounter with Andrews, then Hayesville, then Swain, and 2 of those games on the road. There's that rivalry piece to everything. There's some folks who just come out and say, "Hey, I want to see that Hayesville game." It's always interesting. It's been the most penalized game with Murphy over the years. And of course, the traditional rival, it's now back set at the end of the season with the Swain County Maroon Devils. That's going to be a hard-hitting, tough game to play. And the players, Murphy, are like, one of the places I hate to play is at Swain County. But one step at a time. You go to Andrews, and there's the that in-county rub between Andrews and Murphy. But just simply put, Jake, Murphy's coming and is probably out-manning the Andrews Wildcats in almost every position. And if you take Murphy out in one point, I guess a little lead taken out of the Murphy Bulldogs pencil. Blake Davis goes out with an ankle injury. There was thought that he broke his leg. There was, everybody, once you see a player go out and have to be taken off on the gator, well, they're going to have to go and amputate his leg. No, I mean, but all kidding aside, the questionable run for Blake Davis. And then now Cameron Clem coming back in. But Murphy just has an arsenal of running backs, and they're not just holding a couple of yards. It's significant. When you aggregate everything here with Murphy is a true team effort. Cameron Clem and Michael Brown and Brody McFadden, the guys outside of Blake Davis, really racking up some yards. It's not again gaudy numbers, but the big thing is they get into touchdown town. They're making headway. Cameron Clem with 8 touchdowns on the season. Michael Brown with 5. Brody McFadden really contributing. So that's part of the outmanning. But so you've got really strong running backs, but then Ryan Payne singularly with catching the passes, 24 passes, 357 yards on the season, 3 touchdowns. Brady Grant slinging the ball about 61, 62%. How do you defend and keep up with the speed, with the rushing game, the passing game? And, you're a little weak in some positions. So I believe Murphy is outmanning Andrews this one. So one of the big keys basically is if you're Murphy, you overpower and really put some pressure on McClellan and work to stop Kelby Waldrop, the biggest contributors, and see what the rest of the gang will come up. And so really here, if you're Andrews and you're trying to make impact, you're going to have to work and play a smart game rather than a physical game in this one. But I have Murphy 56-7 over Andrews.
I think the same thoughts can probably be said as Robbinsville travels to Rosman Friday night. Shut down Ronaldo and then out physical Rosman, and you should be out of there by halftime. Should have your starters out of there by halftime.
I think so. So are we shifting gears to the Robbinsville football game?
Yeah,
sorry.
I just think these two games kind of you can't really say a whole lot about them as far as Robbinsville and Murphy are on the up and up. Rosman and Andrews are rebuilding those programs. They've got a lot of young guys. I think the Robbinsville-Rosman game turns out much the same way as the Murphy-Andrews game does.
And I think also with the work that probably coming back to get the sting and the bad taste of losing to Murphy out of your mouth, this is going to be a tough game for Rosman, and it could launch up there about like what the Murphy Rosman game, what was that, 71-72-0.
Yeah.
And you had your number ones coming out at the end of the first quarter in the Murphy Rosman game. But again, not the best, and again, not trying to cast bad aspersions with thought on Rosman. My hope is that all teams in the Smoky Mountain Conference do well and have good football games, but this is just not the most powerful team that you'll see out on the field. And the Robbinsville Rosman game, I have this one about 62-0 for this. I don't know what the computer will say, but if Luke Lovin continues to hit his targets, Cameron Allison, Tucker Jones, and of course Isaac Collins and Kysek Teesteski, they continue to run it down your throat. Maybe salt in a little bit of Gibby in there from time to time. Get his number called. Get the younger guy. You could really see a lot of different folks. And if the fire is lit under Kellen Inslee, like we were talking about, this could be a really rough football game for the Rosman Tigers. Otherwise, you got to get Zeke Gainey on his horse, Ronaldo, Reese, some of these other guys to moving and making the plays and working to outsmart the Robbinsville Black Knights best you can. But again, kind of the same analysis with Murphy to Andrews. Robbinsville probably outmanning the Rosman Tigers, and so with that said, it's just probably going to be a Robbinsville game.
Last game this week is Swain taking on Cherokee. That game is in Swain. Swain's coming off of a shutout victory over Hayesville where they bottled up Trey Graves, limited him to 66 yards. And that seems to be the secret if you want to keep Hayesville off the scoreboard. It's target in on number 6, Trey Graves, and that's what Swain was able to do. Their defense pitched a shutout for the second time this year in conference play, and Swain looks pretty good. Looks like they're rolling. You know, they bounced back from the loss to Robbinsville, but they look like a very complete team right now, as they will host Cherokee, who was on a bye last week. That should be that's a pretty fun game in general, but it should be a fun game this year for sure.
Oh, sure thing. Well, again, mentioning now Hayesville opened this week, 4th in the conference. I like one. You know, they've got some conference leaders like you mentioned, Trey Graves, who just crossed over the 1,000-yard mark. Congratulations to him. Like to see you keep running and build on your really good successful season. Put a few more wins in behind that, and really have a shining season for the Hayesville Yellow Jackets. But Swain County and Cherokee, this has been a traditional rival feeling, and you know, that's just because one, the schools are relatively close to each other. They're about 10 to 15 miles apart, like an Andrews Murphy setup. But of course, some Cherokee students cross over and go enroll at Swain County, but then of course, depending coming back to the res. But Swain County 4-3 is 3rd in the conference, doing quite well. Looking again, Swain defeated Hayesville. The common thread here is that Hayesville game. Swain defeats Hayesville 28-0. Cherokee loses to Hayesville 37-28. Does that tell us anything? Maybe, maybe not. You know, the big thing here is will Jonathan Saylor jump back for Cherokee into the quarterback position, or will they run him? Dawson Panther hasn't been doing too bad at the junior quarterback. Could he? He's really been hitting his targets and been impressed there with him. But Andrew Cody, on the other hand, that was some really good passing. You know, 70%. Zeke Gillespie continues to run. One injury that I haven't confirmed, who's really been the big good receiver besides Corey Stillwell, Silas Stanberry has been contributing really well for Swain County. So I don't know if he's out this week, but you know, words of injury last week in that football game. So we'll see with this one. But you know, within the differences within Hayesville game, it was a big passing game for Cherokee versus Hayesville. In difference to a more of a run game within side of the Swain County game. So depends on what choices Cherokee makes to shift some people around, and what guns they point to take out the Swain County Maroon Devils. Otherwise, Swain County, man, just keep rolling as you are. You've got some momentum going, and this will be an interesting football game. Swain hosting the Cherokee Braves, so little family drama, and then of course with the others, coming through. This has just been a good rival game.
Yeah, it has. It's always fun to watch. Like you said, you know, there's a lot behind the scenes that goes into this football game. I think Swain's just going to be too big up front for Cherokee. Cherokee's very fast. Maybe they could use that to their advantage, but I think Swain's just too big up front with their linemen. If they can get the ball in the hands of Drew Cody, he's really their playmaker. I mean, whether he's giving it to Gillespie or hitting Corey Stillwell through the air, the offense ebbs and flows through Drew Cody. And if he is on, then we could see maybe 21-7 Swain football game, with this being in Bryson City.
I put it a little bit higher. I was looking to see this one as a 35-14 football game is what I was predicting. I think a few more rushes from Glaspie and Cody, and maybe you might even see something go to the air. I think as long as probably as if they're getting if Swain County's getting the success it is out of its rushing game, I think Coach Holt holds that one to the ground, and go where feed the pig, keep things moving, and so that's where a lot. But again, you've got that diversity in both sides. But for Cherokee, it's probably going to be to avoid what you just said is the guys in the trenches, and you may see them go to the air a little bit more to try to get around that one. Is it Sailor? Is it Panther? We'll see. Sailor not having as many passes, but his percentage is higher. On the other hand, Dawson Panther doing quite well in that respect. So this depends.
So that's it. That's all of our games laid out. Murphy travels to Andrews. Cherokee travels to Swain. Hayesville's on a bye. Robbinsville travels to Rosman. We'll be back next week. We will talk about all these games, and we will preview Week 10 as it is just around the corner. We'll be talking more next week about playoff implications and what those playoff projections are starting to look like as we start finding those out. But Brandon, anything else?
No, I just want to say I wore my Tennessee sweatshirt today for all you Georgia fans, and we play Alabama this weekend. But it was just actually chilly this morning, so that was the first sweatshirt I grabbed. But next week I'll wear my UNC shirt.
There you go.
All right, see you, Jake.
All right, thank you.